All right, everybody. Welcome into Around the Felt. We got the NFL Week 3 recap. Here with me tonight is my co-host, Colin Tong. We got Garrett doing the questions tonight. He's actually going to be taking over permanently as the question guy. Dave's just been really busy with work, so we wouldn't want to burden him with that. So Garrett is going to be doing the questions going forward, and he really likes to do it. So Garrett, thank you for that, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But Colin, why don't you start us out with some of the news from the weekend?
Yeah, we got a decent amount of news, and if you're a Chargers fan, there's a lot of this is not very good for you. Justin Herbert re-aggravated his high ankle sprain, limped out of the game. Not a good sign for the Chargers, and they did lose this game. Also, Derwin James suspended for repeatedly violating league rules with leading with the crown of his helmet. Not ideal. And also, Chargers tackles Rashawn Slater with a pec and Joe Alt with an MCL sprain are most likely going to be out this week as well. And the Chargers have the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, bro. I mean, it's not. It's going to be an uphill battle for them. I mean, nothing like some offensive injuries like that, especially to your most important players. But
yeah,
hey.
I mean, if they're rolling out a backup quarterback with two backup tackles, I mean, good luck against that Kansas City defense. I mean, luckily they started 2-0, so I'd imagine they dropped to 2-2. But the way the underdogs have been barking so far this season, dude, I don't know. Like, there's no way they beat the Chiefs though and Patrick Mahomes. I actually have a stat. Pop-Tart sent this to me today.
Let's go, Pop-Tart.
It was a great stat, and it was about the underdogs going to work. If I could find the stats.
Come on, find the stat. Pop-Tart giving out the stats. Love to see it. Love to hear it.
It's about the dogs just absolutely barking. Underdogs of 5.5 points or more are 14-2 against the spread and 10-6 straight up on the season. Reagan, I know we're in a survivor pool and people are already talking about adding a third buyback because everyone's getting toasted.
Yeah, I poo-pooed that. Fuck that. I still have my buyback, so I'm not allowing that.
I have no buyback, but the year that I won it 2 years ago, I lost week 1 and then ran the table, so I don't want a third buyback.
I'm pissed because I had the Bengals, and they.
I know you were talking so much smack yesterday. Unfortunately,
I know I was getting chirped by a bunch of people I do not know, but who doesn't like a good chirp? And I earned it. I earned it.
You did earn it, Reagan. Did you tally up our records after last week?
Oh, yeah. Let me pull that up real quick. I just had it. It was ugly, brother. It was ugly.
Yeah, I mean, we're off to an ugly start, but I think the wide majority of people are off to an ugly start after that stat I just gave with the underdogs really barking. But to continue with the news, Reagan, Sam Darnold leading the Vikings to a 3-0 record, avoided a serious knee injury. It's just a bone bruise. Wow, that is huge for Minnesota because Darnold looks like he rejuvenated his career with Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota.
Yeah, dude. I mean, fucking 8 touchdowns to 2 interceptions for Sam Darnold. I mean, who would have had that on their bingo card? Not me. Definitely not me. But it's good. As a former or as a Jet fan, it's cool to see our former quarterback doing good. I mean, it would have been nice if we kind of gave him a better shot. But, that was the hyperdrive Jets. But I don't know. Good for Sam Darnold, man. I guess the Vikings so far seem like contenders. I mean, you beat the Texans and the 49ers. I don't think we can call you pretenders. It's not like they're a Mickey 3-0 like the Seahawks. We can take a deeper dive into their route to 3-0. But, the Vikings are looking like maybe they could push for the North. I mean, this game against the Packers this week is huge, especially if Jordan Love plays.
Absolutely. And, not to bring up my Giants too early in the pod, Reagan, but, hey, losing to Minnesota doesn't look so bad anymore. And losing to the Commanders after having punted 2 weeks in a row also doesn't look as bad as it did.
So you guys might be a playoff team.
I'm not saying that. We'll see what happens after Thursday, but all right, moving on.
At least you took them. You certainly took them in the spread, right?
No. The one time I didn't take them, they actually
straight up at least.
Right, but it was great. I can't wait to talk about the bet that Pop-Tart and I hit for that game, but we'll get into it. Other quarterback news: Skylar Thompson rib injury. They're saying day to day. I feel like this happens to Miami quite often, where Tua goes out and they just have no viable backup option in the offense, even with those weapons out wide and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Achane in the backfield. The offense just falls off a cliff.
Yeah, dude. Well, yeah. I mean, Skylar Thompson just was not good. And actually, the offense looked a little bit better with Boyle coming in. But yeah, Miami, it's going to be a rough year. I hate to tell you. I mean, I don't know how long they're going to be able to steady the ship, if they will at all. I mean, this matchup against Tennessee this week will be interesting, especially because Tennessee is just desperate for a win. But I don't know if they got to bring someone else in. I mean, I know they got Tyler Huntley. We saw him, be able to get some wins with the Ravens, a very talented roster. So it'll be interesting. But I would almost suggest you got to trade for a quarterback or try to bring in a veteran. I mean, Joe Flacco's out there. Maybe go trade for him. Russell Wilson. I mean, there's a couple teams who have some solid backup options. So you never know.
Never know. All right, that wraps up today's news. Big G, get in the house.
G.
What's
Okay,
up, fellas?
he let himself in the house this
Hey.
time.
All right. Thank you to everyone who submitted questions. We got a good amount tonight. We're going to start off with our buddy Evan Bordeaux.
Bordeaux.
Hey,
wants-
Bordeaux.
He's got a Saints question. He
Bordeaux.
wants to know, does Derek Carr's dud this past week show a sign of things to come? Will the Saints get back to how they were playing the first 2 weeks?
I would say, yeah, he had a dud this week, and it was an Eagles defense that wasn't necessarily lights out the first 2 weeks. But, I think he's somewhere in the middle compared to last week in the first 2 weeks. He's not going to be at an MVP level the entire season, but he's also not going to be terrible. I think he's an average quarterback. I think he's in the middle of the pack, and I think he's going to regress to the mean in both regards.
Yeah, I would say this is kind of like Colin said, the mean. I mean, I don't think he's going to play at that MVP level that we saw the first 2 weeks, but I definitely don't think this is how he's going to play on a normal basis. So, but the Saints are definitely legit. I mean, you hung with the Eagles all game, and obviously they beat the Cowboys or killed the Cowboys, and then they beat the Bryce Young led Panthers, but still a win's a win. We're not going to take it away. They did exactly what they're supposed to do. So, yeah, I think this is a team that could push for a wild card spot, and I think Derek Carr will be a big reason behind it. But for fantasy, I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I don't love him for fantasy. I don't necessarily love that offense for fantasy in particular, but Micah Parsons did say in his podcast, because CJ Gardner-Johnson was talking some smack on Derek Carr, and Parsons was like, dude, like Derek Carr has been the highest paid quarterback in the league before. He's been an MVP candidate before. Like, he's a good player in this league. So to just say that he's trash and you're going to run right over him. Parsons called out Gardner-Johnson and gave his respect to Derek Carr. So I'll trust Micah Parsons' analysis.
Over, you not trusting Big CJ with the Eagles?
No, I don't. I mean, he's the biggest trash talker in the league, so I don't really put too much fruition to what he says.
All right. Going over to Austin. Austin wants to know, what was the biggest week 3 surprise?
I mean, pick your poison, dude. The Minnesota Vikings beating the Texans by 27. You can go the Malik Willis-led Packers beating the Titans 30-14. You can go the Broncos beating the Bucks 26-7. You got the Panthers hanging 36 with Dalton.
Mine's by far the Bengals losing at home, coming in as huge favorites, and it's such a surprise to me. Not knocking the Commanders, but the Bengals. I mean, dude, if you told me they're going to start 0-2. And go against the Commanders at home in like a must-win game, I mean, I would have been like, for sure, they're going to smoke them out. And that's what I totally thought. So their defense has huge issues. I mean, they solved a lot of the offensive issues. But a lot of that is, Washington was kind of playing a little bit of a prevent. They knew their offense was dominating all games. So they were kind of just trying to let the Bengals chew clock. And, the Bengals they have huge issues. And that really was my biggest surprise. I thought they were going to handle business. So I don't know. I don't hate it as a Jet fan, one less team to have to worry about clearly, but I don't know.
Moving over, he wants to know, who was the most dominant team this week? And
the Panthers,
Buffalo.
Dude.
Buffalo beat the Jags 47-10. Josh Allen looked invincible. And now, like, the most overrated comment before the season, like, voted on by people in the league. Like, that is such bullshit, dude. He's trotting out Matt Collins, Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir. Like, Keon Coleman was even benched for the first quarter. It didn't matter, dude. Josh Allen is Superman. And the Bills, I mean, that offense without Diggs just is still one of the best in the league. I mean, beating Jacksonville 47-10. Surprised Doug Peterson still has his job.
Yeah, honestly, if they lose another game or two, he's gone. I mean, I think he's gone regardless after this year, because I doubt they're able to turn it around and make the playoffs. But but yeah, the only reason I said the Panthers is because we've seen this offense be so like inept and not be able to do anything, and to come out and drop 33 on the Raiders, who just beat the Ravens, arguably one of the better teams in the NFL. And Andy Dalton comes out, throws for 300 yards, over 3 touchdowns.
The Red Rifle.
Just seeing Chuba Hubbard, my call for a must start this week. Having a huge game.
Great call.
And then Deontay Johnson, a guy they went out and got, and seeing what he can do. Even Thielen looked good. Unfortunately, I believe he's going to be put on IR with his hamstring injury. But still, to me, that was just dominant. And the defense looked good too. A lot of people were shitting on him, but they bottled up the Raiders' run game. I mean, especially without Derek Brown. So they just looked dominant on both ends. And, maybe the Raiders were coming back down to earth, but the Panthers, man, they look a lot better. I mean, I'm not looking at them as the worst team in the league anymore with Andy Dalton at QB.
It's 1 week. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
Hey, man, I mean, I don't know if you could say they're the worst team in the league. I still think there's some other teams. I mean, the Patriots have looked pretty bad.
They have.
I mean, even though they beat the Bengals, I mean, if the Panthers beat them next week, are the Bengals the worst team in the league? Might have to start that conversation, bro.
No,
if you start 0-4 losing to the Patriots, Commanders, and the Panthers.
I mean, you're a
know.
Bengals fan preseason. You're marking up 3-1, and you're like, all right, let's go beat the Chiefs and start 4-0.
Yeah. And that was the best game they've had. It was against the Chiefs that they've looked at their best, which is funny enough.
All right, moving over to Caleb, friend of the pod.
What's up,
Shout out
Caleb?
around the bases.
Yeah,
You want-
he was saying he's going to be dropping one next week for a playoff preview. So you guys seam heads out there. I'll have to give it a listen.
Let's go.
Yeah, look out for that. He
Seam
wants to know,
heads.
do you think the Commanders have a legitimate chance to win the NFC East?
I would say
No.
yeah, dude. No, I would say they have a legitimate chance only because Dallas looks so bad right now, especially defensively. And I would say, like, even though Washington let up all those points last night, the defense has improved every week under Dan Quinn, and he is a defensive-minded coach. So while they have a lot of issues there, I think the defense will continue to improve. And Jaden Daniels looks legit, so I would think this offense will continue to improve. I think it'll be tough, but I definitely feel a lot more confident in them now than I did coming into the season. And it's also the NFC Beast. I mean, we know already the Cowboys won't win it just because every year it's a different team, so you can check them off. We already saw them handle business against the Giants, so I don't know. It'll be interesting. I feel like they will steal one from both the Cowboys and the Eagles because it just seems like all those division games are always tough, and most teams don't sweep. They usually split in that division.
I mean, I wouldn't go to the point where I think they're going to win the division. I think they're certainly in the wild card hunt, but I mean, just early on, Dallas doesn't look right. Jalen Hurts doesn't look right. I have to think they'll figure it out, just given what we've seen the last couple of years. I still think it'll be Philly or Dallas that wins the division. But if Jaden Daniels continues his play, I mean, he looks like he should have been the number 1 overall pick because the consensus was Caleb Williams is the best situation, but Jaden Daniels is balling out right now. And that's through the air. His deep balls yesterday were phenomenal. That's with his legs. When you have a quarterback like that, you have a chance. But I just don't trust their defense enough to think that they can unseat the Dallas Cowboys or beat out the Eagles for the division title.
All I'm saying is don't be surprised if they're 6-3 in 9 games from now. You know what I mean? Like their schedule's not too crazy. I mean, they got the Cardinals, they got the Browns, the Ravens will be tough, but then the Panthers, Bears, Giants, Steelers. Then they get the Eagles and Cowboys, Titans. I mean, they got a lot of winnable games left on the schedule. So if that same offense comes out that we saw last night and just starts lighting the world on fire, and Jaden Daniels continues to improve week in and week out, you never know. You never know. I'm not ruling it out, Caleb. I think it's worth a sprinkle for them to win the division.
Hey, we see a team go from worst to first almost every year. Maybe this is the year for the commies.
Sure.
Hopefully it's us, but
All
I know
right,
we weren't the worst.
I don't know.
back to
Buffalo
the
looks pretty good.
Bengals. He wants to know, why does the Bengals defense suck?
Well, it wasn't very good last year, to be honest with you. And Lou Anaromo is a very highly respected defensive coordinator. I don't understand what's going on with them. I mean, their secondary is just getting toasted, and they tried to address that. They brought back some guys in the back end, but I don't know. It seems like it's just Trey Hendrickson and a bunch of nothing right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, dude. Also, like, I know it's been 2 years now, but ever since they lost Jesse Bates to the Falcons, I mean, that's been a big hole in their secondary. I mean, he was just so good, an all-pro level player. So you can see that's pretty evident in their secondary. I mean, they were getting cooked. McLaurin cooked them on that deep bomb in double coverage early on for that 50-yard play. It's like, how are you going to get beat when you're doubling a guy and you have safety help? It was just weird. I mean, and like you said, outside of Hendrickson and DJ Reader's gone as well now. So that's why we saw kind of Eckler gashing him on some big runs early. But just I don't know, man. It's weird. It's definitely not the old Bengals defense we're used to seeing, where they had some stingy defenses.
If you were the Dolphins front office, what would you do to address the quarterback situation?
I would go out and trade for somebody. I mean, clearly Skylar Thompson's going to miss some time. I mean, we know what Tim Boyle is. He's not going to put you over the top. I mean, unless you want to punt this year completely, which you basically will be doing if you're waiting for Tua to come back. The team's going to be so far behind in the tough AFC thing. So I think you got to go make a trade. Unfortunately, you're going to have to pay a premium, but there's a lot of good backups out there. I mean, Joe Flacco, go try to get him. I mean, the Jets wouldn't give up Tyrod because it's interdivision. But, I mean, look at the Giants. They got True Lock. You could go make a trade for him maybe. Who else we got?
I mean, I really just wish Jameis Winston wasn't backing up Watson because Watson's so bad. And
Yeah,
there's
Jameis
no way
Winston too. You could go
there's-
trade for him.
There's no way they'd let Jameis go, though,
Yeah, they
given how
wouldn't.
Watson looks. Watson looks like a bottom 5 quarterback in
Yeah.
football right now. You know what I mean? So he's not going to go. I mean, they do have DTR, I believe, but
Maybe Carson Wentz with Kansas City. I mean, there's a lot of like big name backups out there that they could go try to acquire.
and we've seen guys that have been backups, Sam Darnold, guys rejuvenate their career with the right coaching situation, and Mike McDaniel
Yeah.
seems like a
Sam,
guy that can do that. We haven't seen it because, I mean, Skylar Thompson's just not a starting caliber player, but
yeah, Sam Howell also. He's out in Seattle right now. I mean,
Seattle.
there's plenty of good backups out there that they can go try to get, in my opinion.
They should have kept a Mike White on the roster. I mean, he's
Yeah,
not
he's in
great,
the
but
Bills practice squad.
he's better than whatever Tim Boyle is.
hey, they could bring him back if he's on the Bills practice squad.
True.
Well, this next question parlays into that. We got a question from Jared. He wants to know, does a Russell Wilson trade to the Dolphins make sense?
It definitely makes sense because the Dolphins kind of want to stay afloat, and he's obviously better than anyone they have on the roster currently. Will it happen? I don't know. I mean, if Pittsburgh's smart and they can, sell high on him, but then again, like that would mean they fully are investing in Justin Fields, which the guy's 3-0. Has he looked great? No. Has he looked bad? No. He's just been a good game manager. I mean, hasn't put him over the top, but he's not burning him. He's letting he's taking care of the football. He's putting him in a position to put up enough points to win, but it'll be interesting to see once the defense can't step up and allows 20, 25 points. And hey, can Justin Fields go get 2 or 3 touchdowns to keep you on the game? So I don't know.
Yeah, I
definitely
mean,
think it makes sense for Miami. It's just where's Pittsburgh at with Fields?
Pittsburgh's defense has allowed not more than 10 points yet. So, like, Fields is winning games. He's taking care of the ball, like you mentioned. He's doing a good job. But has he done enough to make the Steelers want to move off Russell Wilson already? I don't think so, because the Steelers see themselves as playoff contenders. So I
Yeah.
think they want to keep both guys in house
And I
and let
would
the
too.
season play out. Yeah, I
If
would
I'm the
definitely do
Steelers,
it.
I
Yeah,
am. Unless the Miami offers you like a first round pick and you can turn a guy that you paid $2 million into a first rounder, then yeah,
you're not
you
getting
gotta
a
do it.
first round pick for Russell Wilson.
I mean, dude, that's the whole
You
thing. that
might
comes
get a
into-
fifth. You might get a fifth.
Well, that's the thing, but they have to pay a premium if they want him. So it really depends how desperate Miami gets and what they offer. I mean, obviously a first round's getting a little crazy, but everyone has a price point. So if they're like, if Miami pays the premium to go get a guy because they don't have faith with who's in their locker room, then yeah. So
We also don't know Tua's status, like with concussions in general, but particularly with Tua.
yeah,
We don't know what the
yes, we fed
neurologists
him.
are
I'm
saying.
recording.
We don't know what they're saying and how long it could take till he gets back.
Sorry, my sister was asking if I fed the cats. Yeah, I fucking fed them animals. They eat good in this
Alright.
house.
Moving on, Jared wants to know, for fantasy wise, what is Terry McLaurin's value?
I
Last night
mean,
was you go
this
first.
might
but
be the highest his value has been. He's never had a quarterback. He's put up solid wide receiver 2 seasons in fantasy. But with Jaden Daniels pushing the ball downfield like that, and with Terry calling his own number, saying, let's run that play when he had the second touchdown, the 26-yarder, and Jaden throwing an absolute dart, and Terry getting both feet down, like, if they're not punting, Terry's clearly the top option there. I think if he's at your wide receiver 2, you're feeling pretty good, where the last couple of years, you're like, yeah, the talent was always there with Terry, but he's had so many different quarterbacks throw him the ball, and none of them could do it efficiently. I mean, Terry right now is a solid wide receiver 2.
yeah, I mean, if I had him, I would hold on to him, give it another week. I definitely wouldn't trade high on him because I don't know if that was a ceiling. There might be better games coming if Daniels continues to keep coming along as a pocket passer. I mean, you may end up, like Colin said, having a top 24 receiver. So I would definitely hold him, see where it goes. But last night was very encouraging for his fantasy value. And honestly, the whole offense, they just looked very, very good last night. And they looked good against You would have an even different perspective if they punched a couple of those red zone opportunities in against the Giants and didn't shoot himself in the foot. I think you'd be having an even bigger perspective on this team and what they really can become.
I mean, yeah, they just drove the ball downfield all day, and
That's
it
what I'm
was
saying. It's just
just
the no
bend don't
touchdowns.
break defense. Yeah, that's 7
Mhm.
field goals. I mean, that's just such an outlier of a game. You'd think they'd punch more of those in, but also it's an outlier of a game. Them not punting at all, and they just did it back-to-back games. So
Mm-hmm.
All right, last thing Jared writes in. He's got a segment or punishment idea for you guys. He
okay,
said loser needs to do the question segment in an ice bath.
Yo,
Oh,
I actually, that's awesome, dude. That should be next week's punishment.
I don't
I'm
know
down.
how I'm gonna. I guess I just take. I mean, the only problem is I don't have a bathtub here, so I guess I have to win again, Reagan. I got to beat you a fourth week in a row.
Or looks like you're gonna have to go back home to the Tong residence. It's not my fucking problem.
Mm.
Hey, I'll beat you again, dude. I'll make it 4-0. You don't want to talk about it? You gotta do a cinnamon challenge this week. You know, I'll just beat your ass again, and you could do the cold tub.
I don't care, bro. That's actually gonna be so funny for people listening. It's gonna be such an ear rape when you're just like,
Hey, let's do it, Giants Cowboys. That's how confident I am in my G-men this week. If you want to take Dallas -5.5, I know you always fade my Giants, so let's do it for the ice bath.
fuck, I think I could, dude.
Y-
Oh, I
Yeah,
kind of
you're
want to
not
take the
positive
Cowboys.
though. You
Oh,
don't
you
have
know what?
faith in Dallas.
I'll take it. Fuck it, I'll do it because Zeke. I'll probably take. You know what? Fuck it. Zeke Elliott 2 touchdown. Make that the bet.
No,
No.
Zeke's bad, so I mean,
It doesn't matter.
you
He's the
want-
Giants killer. Like he's actually such a mortal lock to score a touchdown this week. He actually owns the Giants. But yeah, you know what? Fuck it. I'll take the Giants or I'll take the Cowboys -5.5.
Cool. I mean, we'll discuss it more tomorrow when we get to the breakdown, but cool.
Jared, that's a great idea. See, this is why we have that on the question segment because, you guys can come up with ideas too. And he's a guy. Jared's a guy that is in our military service, so going through boot camp and stuff. I'm sure they had to do some pretty shitty stuff and punishment, or not even punishments, but types of grueling stuff. So for us, from an outsider perspective, just keep giving it to us. So we'll fucking do it.
Jared is the king of punishment ideas. I'm not gonna lie.
He is the king of punishment ideas.
We've done so many punishments. We struggle to come up with ideas these days. So it's very much appreciated when guys send us punishment ideas.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we'll shave our heads, we'll dye our hair pink. We'll both get
I don't know about all
tattoos.
that, but
What else?
Tattoo would be a fucking crazy one for like a season-long thing.
dude, it'd have to be a big one, bro. It'd have to be like
100%.
it'd have to be like Giants Jets Super Bowl, bro.
No, I 100% would because I don't give
Get a
a
little
shit,
thigh tat. You can hide it. Little round.
I mean, I'm also like the difference between I'm bought in, like Colin's like semi bought in. He's like, tattoos
come
where I
on,
cut
that's
the line.
bullshit,
fellas,
dude. That's
fellas. When it
bullshit.
comes to my skin, that's where I
No,
draw the
but
line.
you were also like, oh, whatever you want tattooed. That's like way too far because you.
Why?
It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Dude, I could come up with some crazy things.
Exactly, bro. I know how your mind works. Yeah, I don't
Oh my
trust
god,
you.
dude! I would have
voice.
I would actually have you.
You don't want to agree to that.
All double cheeked up, just getting railed by like somebody hitting from behind.
Okay.
Oh,
We'll leave it at that.
yeah,
Thank
my
you
God.
for everyone who's put in questions. Keep those coming. Colin, Reagan, thank you. We'll see
Yes,
you
Sir
next
G,
week.
appreciate you as
Get
always.
back to your homework. We'll see you tomorrow, G, for some more questions.
All right, Reagan,
let's get
it's
into it.
time to talk about your New York Jets. Wow, what a
Mhm.
performance. I was off on this one. Patriots could not move the football.
Yeah, he was.
Aaron Rodgers looked really damn good in this one. 27 of 35 for 281 and 2 touchdowns. The dual-headed monster of Braylon Allen and Breece Hall both had over 50 rushing yards. I mean, Breece scored a touchdown in this one. Braylon almost did. Just a phenomenal performance from your Jets. Tyler Conklin finally came alive, Reagan. You called it last week. We're like, where is Conklin? Got the tight end more involved. He had 93 yards. Awesome to see. I loved Allen
this
Lazard.
week, I think.
You think it's Mike Will?
Yeah, I mean, we've unlocked a guy every week, so I think Mike Will gets unlocked this week.
Hey, I don't hate that because Rodgers almost hit him in the end zone. There was that offside call when he chucked that deep ball. And we might have been holding. I don't know if it would have counted anyways. I know there was a flag on the play, but I mean, that's a ball that Mike Williams usually comes down with. He had a couple opportunities to have a big game. So he's starting to get that snap count up. Mike Williams could pop off soon. I loved Allen Lazard in this matchup. He had 3 for 48 and a touchdown. I took his over 35 yards with Gonzalez on Garrett Wilson, who only had 5 for 33, but did have that nice touchdown and that beautiful ball by Rodgers right at the top front of the pylon, Reagan. That was just a sick throw.
Yeah, man. I mean, it was a very encouraging game. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the Patriots, but at this point, I kind of knew it was going to be the 49ers was going to be the tough one, but these are the games you're supposed to win, and it's good seeing Rodgers continue to get the rust off. I mean, he looked like the old Aaron Rodgers, and he looked a lot more mobile than most quarterbacks, and not most quarterbacks, but a lot of the other pocket passers that are up there. I mean, you can't tell me he didn't look more mobile than like the Matt Staffords, the Jared Goffs. I mean, some of those like
Kirk O'Chains.
Kirk O'Chains. I mean, he was moving on the run on the right side, and you first off, he's 40, which I'd be like right there.
And he had a couple scrambles.
But on top of that, this guy freaking tore his Achilles last year. So the fact that he was moving that fast, I mean, sky's the limit for this offense. And it was good to see the defense get back. Granted, it's the Patriots. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. And it'll be the Broncos this week, so I still don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But the defense definitely had a lot of momentum there, picked it up. And we were getting killed on the run, but hey, they had a huge game. Ramondre had 0.3 for fantasy. I mean, he did fumble the ball, but a guy that had been dominating the first 2 weeks did nothing. So
yeah, really screwed me in my flex spot. But you know, we fell just short, and Ramondre is a big part of me falling short in the one league I had him in. So thanks, Ramondre. But he's been great the previous 2 weeks. So I'm hoping the Patriots continue to feed him the ball and he bounces back.
And I think they will, especially when they go to Drake May. I'm sure they'll feed it to him even more because it's a rookie quarterback. You're not going to try to have him passing the ball a ton. You want to kind of take some stuff off his plate. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, nothing really to write home about with the Patriots performance. So let's move on to my New York Football Giants, Reagan. A monster win, a season-saving win, 21-15 over Cleveland. Daniel Jones looked great, 24 of 34 for 236 and 2 touchdowns. It's back-to-back weeks. No turnovers, 2 touchdowns apiece. Being very efficient. You love to see it. And Malik Neighbors a big part of that. 8 of 78 for 2 touchdowns, just highlight reel catches all day. He looks like an absolute stud, like arguable, already top 20, top 15 in the league, which I think is. Do you think that's crazy to say? He looks like a man.
No.
Out there.
No. He definitely. I mean, he reminds me. I mean, obviously, it's kind of like a classic media take, and all the big networks are saying it, but he does look like and gives that same feel of Odell in his rookie year. So it's good to see how open he's getting and how dominant he's been. And I thought he would struggle a little bit just with the fact that they don't have a lot of talent around him. So I thought a lot of defenses are going to start to hone in on him. And I'm sure teams will, because it's pretty clear that offense runs through him. So the best way to stop that offense is take away Neighbors and make Wan'Dale Robinson, Devin Singletary, Slayton, those guys beat you. If I was a defense, I'd just double them all game and be like, you know what? If we lose to Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton, that's on us.
Yeah, and you said last week, like, I want to see it one more week. Cleveland's got a legit secondary. They got Denzel Ward. They got Greg Newsome. They have some dudes back there, and it didn't matter. I mean, Neighbors still dominated in this one. Devin Singletary, another solid performance. He did fumble, though, second week in a row, kind of worrisome, but he had 65 yards and a touchdown on the ground.
Could have had 2, but he made a smart play.
He made a phenomenal play, and people on Giants Twitter are freaking out, and Carl Banks and all the Giants guys are like, guys, it's because they gambled on it and they have fantasy football. That's why people are freaking out. It was the smart football play. You go down there, the game's over. It was over.
I'm just laughing. Paul just commented on the TikTok punishment of me dancing, just being like, this is false advertising. That's not a punishment. That was the entire Losher family after the Jets beat the Patriots. That's so funny.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good one, Paul. That's a good one. Even for a masshole like you. That's a good one.
Defensively for the Giants, too, just that pass rush came to life. Dexter Lawrence with 2 sacks, Brian Burns with a strip sack, Thibodeau and Ojulari both had big games. I knew Dexter Lawrence was going to feast because the Browns center coming into this week allowed the most pressures in the league. And Dexter Lawrence is the best nose tackle in football and in recent memory, the way that he dominates from the zero technique.
He's the best nose tackle?
Yeah.
All right.
Why? I don't even think that's arguable. He lines up at the nose. You want to argue Aaron Donald was. Aaron Donald didn't line up at the nose. He was in the 3 tech to the 5 tech.
That's fair.
Yeah. And so now
that's fair, because I know Chris Jones, obviously he doesn't line up at the 1 tech a lot.
Yeah, he goes 3 to 5.
So
he plays some end as well.
I'm trying to think.
But you wanted to argue interior defensive lineman. You can have the argument with Chris Jones.
I mean, a lot of teams don't even. I mean, a lot of teams don't run nose tackles, so that's like. But I guess I mean, doesn't have as much competition. But interior, I mean, obviously he's probably top 3. I mean, it's him, Simmons, Jones, Williams. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 of them at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Case for.
And for the Browns, I know Deshaun Watson threw 2 touchdowns and for $196. It was way worse than the stat sheet indicates. Like the Browns recovered a fumble on the opening kickoff, threw a touchdown right away, and we're all like, oh, well, we suck. Season's over. But no, Deshaun Watson was so bad the rest of the way, and Malik Neighbors and Daniel Jones did their thing. Giants got the win. And, dude, I'm not even kidding. Deshaun Watson looks a shell of himself. Like, I don't think he'll ever – I think it's time where we all agree he's never going to be that player he was in Houston again. I don't think it's there anymore.
It's not. No, dude, it's obviously not there. I mean, I even said, I'm like, damn, Giants off to a hot start. I thought it was over at that point. I'm like, yep, it's time to look at the mock draft.
To the group chat. You're like,
It's
oh,
not.
Giants off to a hot start. I'm like, dude, it's 106. What the hell?
I mean, it was, and then of course the first play the Browns score. But yeah, I mean, Watson looks terrible. The offensive line's not great. I mean, I'll give the Giants D-line credit. They stepped up. And even then, like the Giants gave the Cleveland multiple chances at the end to come back. I mean, the Browns had so many opportunities to win that game, and they just couldn't get it done. So they have, I mean, and I don't even want to say, I mean, obviously getting Chubb back will help this team's identity, but what will he look like, and how long will it take him to even get back to the Nick Chubb we know, if ever? I mean, he's coming off of brutal injuries, and it's not the first time. I mean, he had brutal injuries in college too, so there's a lot of wear and tear on him, and he's had a bunch of brutal injuries. So no guarantee he ever gets back to that point.
Yeah, and if you look at the stat sheet, like Jerome Ford ran the ball 10 times and only averaged 3.7 yards per carry. Deontay Foreman had 2 for 5 yards. They threw the ball 37 times with Watson and ran the ball 12 times.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
that's just not a recipe.
Identity of the team.
It's just not. And I understand they have injuries up front, and the Giants took advantage of that. But, I mean, at least a positive. Amari Cooper looked really good, had 86 yards and 2 touchdowns. He torched Deontay Banks, which is just not good for the Giants. But you mentioned how the Giants almost gave this game away. I want to talk about me and Pop-Tart's bet that we hit. So I was saying Dexter Lawrence sack, boys. It's plus 140. It's going to hit. It's a lock. I mean, he's going to dominate this interior. And he did. He had a sack within the first 3 minutes of the game. And then Cleveland's guard, Wyatt Teller, went out. And it's like, okay, well, now he can pick who he wants to dominate. So I had that. Pop-Tart's like, dude, Malik 2 touchdowns. I'm like, oh, wow, okay. And he sends the parlay. He's like, this is the craziest parlay I've ever taken in my life. He had $10. He won like over 600. Giants money line. They were pretty decent dogs. Dexter Lawrence sack plus money. Malik Neighbors 2 touchdowns. I was like, screw it, dude. I'll ride. $33, $2,000. The boys celebrated that Giants win. They almost gave it away. They didn't score in the second half, but the defense did enough. Wow, what a great win. What a great win. Season's back on. I might be saying something different on next week's pod because we got Dallas, but season's back on. The boys are vibing high. And yes, I need to buy Malik Neighbors jersey, but they're all sold out. So maybe I'll
no. That's just will not do.
I was gonna get a legacy one, but I don't know if I want the legacy.
You don't need a Malik Neighbors. I think you.
I need to, bro. I need to. I want 2 racks. I want 2 racks, and he had 2 touchdowns.
Bro, you're okay. And how did he get it done? Daniel Jones. Don't be a sheep. Get a Daniel Jones throwback jersey, baby.
I already have a Daniel Jones jersey.
All right, you know what?
I'm gonna wear it tomorrow.
How about, you know what? Let's get one of our other rookies hyped up. Let's get a Tyrone Tracy jersey.
Tracy hasn't done much. Now, if you want to go Drew Phillips or Tyler Nubin, the 2 rookies in secondary,
come on, man. Mix it up. Be different. Have your own personality. You be you, dude. Don't be one of the sheep.
I know how many neighbors, but you can't.
I mean, why would Malik, if little Colin Tong's in the crowd screaming, Malik, sign my jersey, why would he pick you? Where if you're like, yo, Tyler Nubin, I'm your biggest fan. Then you have a chance because there's not a lot of Tyler Nubin jerseys out there, but you'll be like with all the other 10-year-olds screaming for Malik to sign your jersey.
I mean, I don't think you're wrong there, to be honest with you. I don't think you're wrong, but I don't know. Leak is just fly. Speaking of Leak, let's talk about Malik Willis and the Green Bay Packers beating the Tennessee Titans 30-14. This was actually a game I was right on this week. Malik Willis revenge game, it was just great to see. 13 of 19 for 202 and a touchdown. Took care of the ball again, very efficient. They didn't ask him to throw it a ton, but he had 6 carries for 73 yards and another touchdown. Crazy. Emmanuel Wilson had 12 for 50. Jacobs 14 for 43. They really spread the ball around with the receiving corps. Christian Watson had 2 catches for 67, a 37-yarder and a 30-yarder. That's kind of what Watson is. He's going to have those big plays, but I still don't think he's consistent enough to plug in your fantasy lineups.
And that's why, that's kind of why I was like, I said to bench all Packers wide receivers because it's just, after the first week, they barely let him throw the ball. And he still only had 200 passing yards. I mean, it's not like any of these weapons were amazing for fantasy if you started them. I mean, Watson led the team with 67 receiving yards. I mean, you didn't start Emmanuel Wilson. Jaden Reed was 4 for 50. And, so like I said, none of these guys would have broken double digits in any platform for fantasy. So that's why I was saying bench all. I mean, if you started Watson and Reed, like they didn't burn you, but you weren't happy with like
technically Reed, if you're 1 point PPR, because he had 2 carries for 19 yards.
Yeah,
I did start him in one league. I was very thin, a lot of injuries, had to start him at flex. Didn't love it, love the play, but
I mean 10.9, but I mean still you're not like
it's okay.
Odds are you had better
it's
options
okay.
on the bench. I mean, and that was kind of why I was like, just don't start it. I mean, the call wasn't wrong. None of these guys went off where you're like, yo, dumbass, like why didn't I start him? This guy went off. I mean, 10.9 is good. If you were in a full point, if you'd started him in a half point or no point, I mean, that's not even breaking double digits. So,
yeah, no, it's not great. And for Tennessee, I mean, Levis again, dude, just oh my goodness, bro. He has just terrible turnovers week after week, and you're just not going to win games doing it. Yeah, he threw for 260 and 2 touchdowns, but that pick 6 to Jair was terrible. Had another interception. I mean, he does have a good connection with DeAndre Hopkins still. D-Hop had 73 yards and a touchdown, which is positive for D-Hop fantasy owners. I don't love DeAndre Hopkins, though, at all in this offense.
So, yeah, I was actually going to say go pick him up. He looked good. He looked healthy. Like, he looks like he's getting back to DeAndre Hopkins. So, I know he's hit waiver wires in a lot of leagues. So, if I wouldn't burn the number 1 waiver claim, and
if he's on waivers, I take him. Yeah.
But I definitely think he's worth picking up. I mean, he looked like he's close to what DeAndre Hopkins normally looked like. He looked good last week.
But he's not someone I'm going to trade like draft picks for in Dynasty at all. Like, you know what I mean?
No.
No. I mean, and Calvin Ridley, after a great week, had 1 catch for 9 yards. So, I mean, that just is awful.
Yeah.
I mean, the running
went
game
off against the Jets. Yeah. And then nothing the next week.
The running game was terrible. Pollard 6 for 14. Tajay Spears 2 for 7. Obviously, the game script didn't really allow them. They fell behind quickly right away. But Tennessee, man, dropping 0-3, just a really tough start. And I really don't see a light at the end of the tunnel for the Titans this season.
And it's a massive game. That Monday night game is going to be massive for the Titans and the Dolphins because, Dolphins are trying to just stay afloat till Tua gets back. And I mean, dropping to 1-3 gets rough. And then Tennessee's just hoping that, that they can get a win together or two because right now, I mean, that division's slipping away. I mean, if you can get the win, the Texans lose this week, then you're only a game back of the division. I mean, if the Jaguars are able to upset the Texans, so they're not fully out of that division where the Dolphins, I mean, it's not looking good with how good the Jets and Bills have looked and the health of Tua and, right now. So it'll be interesting.
Absolutely. And I said last week, I was like, big performance. Not that they're huge dogs, but they're 2-0 without Jordan Love. That is huge for Green Bay. That is huge because now they have all the confidence of the world as a team. It's like we don't even have our star quarterback, and we just won back-to-back games.
I'd imagine a controversy is going to start soon, right?
Oh, come on now.
Yeah.
But Malik Willis, but that's another thing where the conversation with the head coaching that everyone's having right now, seeing Sam Darnold and Malik Willis with Matt LaFleur balling out, you know what I mean? And seeing what Baker Mayfield, what he was able to do in Tampa Bay the last couple years when he got into his comfortable situation with a good coach. Dude, it's a legitimate conversation to have that maybe it's the coaching, and it incentivizes more teams to go hire an offensive-minded head coach that doesn't matter who's playing quarterback, they can stay on schedule, you can score points.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I'm not going to lie. It really will be. So, but we'll see, man. We'll see.
Let's move on. The Colts beat the Bears 21-16. And yes, this was our big bet of the week. And yes, Reagan lost again. I am now 3-0 this year, and I'm the defending champion. We're off to a hot start. And I called this game to a T. I'd say bench Indianapolis's pass catchers. Pierce 1 for 44. Kyle Granson 1 for 40. Okay, a little bit of an outlier there. You're not starting Kylan Granson, though. Michael Pittman 4 for 36. Said it put his ass on the bench. Jonathan Taylor 1 for 25. Josh Downs 3 for 22. A.D. Mitchell didn't even record a catch. But Jonathan Taylor 23 carries for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He looked good.
The legs of Jonathan Taylor. He looked good, dude. He looked explosive. Sermon only had 2 carries as well. He did have a touchdown, so if you're a fantasy holder, you're like, oh, come on. Sermon's going to go in and punch in a touchdown. But all 3 touchdowns were on the ground, and Richardson struggled again. Not good for Indy. I figured he was going to struggle in this one with Chicago's secondary, but, I mean, he only got me 6 fantasy points, 10 of 20 for 167. 2 picks, only had 8 carries for 24 on the ground.
I think there's better days ahead for him. Like, I actually just went out and traded for him in a fantasy league because I fully believe there's better days for fantasy. He's not a good NFL quarterback. I'll stand on that hill, but I think he's going to have to get more involved with his legs. So I think we're going to see more, I don't know, more schemed up run plays because clearly that's one of his biggest facets. I mean, he's definitely not an accurate passer. I mean, he's obviously got a cannon of an arm, but I mean, things are going to have to change, and Steichen's going to have to scheme some stuff up because him and Gardner Minshew are completely different quarterbacks, and you were able to be very efficient last year and win a lot of games with him.
I agree, and I believe in Shane Steichen to make those adjustments as well. I think he's one of the best offensive minds in the game. For the Bears, Caleb Williams looked better. Still had 2 interceptions, so that's not ideal, but he did throw for 363 and 2 touchdowns, which was good to see. Rome Odunze, 6 for 112 and a touchdown. That's awesome if you're a Bears fan. Cole Kmet had 10 catches for 97 yards and a touchdown. And beginning of the season, Gerald Everett was getting more of the action, and now the tide has turned, which I thought that was strange to begin with, but because Kmet was solid last year, and he's the younger player. Now Kmet's getting way more involved. DJ Moore hit 8 for 78. That's awesome. Hopefully Keenan Allen can get back in the mix this week because the Bears now at 1-2, they've had an opportunity to win a couple games here that they've dropped.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Williams just hasn't been what we expected so far. But I mean, then
he
again,
also lost the
we
fumble,
put a lot
bro.
of high expectations on him. I mean, it's only 3 weeks into his rookie season, so give him time. I think he'll continue to improve. I mean, he obviously had a lot of passing yards, but still some bad picks. I mean, and a lot of it's 2 touchdowns were like when they were trailing from behind, where the Colts were kind of running more of a prevent. So it wasn't like they was lighting him up, and he had that one like crazy tip at the end that got him like 50 of those passing yards to DJ Moore. So it'll be interesting, but I do think there's better days ahead for the Bears in this offense. I think they're going to continue to improve. I mean, I still think they're a playoff team. I really do. I just think it's some of the growing pains with a young team and a bad offensive line. But that brings back into question the whole decision to take a Dunze over one of the linemen when you already have a lot of good players. And even taking Williams. I mean, you could have taken Fields, traded back, and then really built the trenches up. But I don't know.
I still agree with going quarterback there, but now it's going to be the conversation's already being had 3 weeks in. Oh, they should have taken Jaden Daniels. Like those two will be compared for the remainder of their careers, just like Bryce Young and CJ Stroud will be.
And I don't even think that. And also on top of that, like Fields, I'm not saying this because Fields looked good with Pittsburgh because he really hasn't. It's just more so you keep Fields and then you trade back and get a ton of picks to then really bolster that offensive line. But wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think they thought their offensive line was better than it's performed this year because I highlighted in the preseason pods where it's like, yeah, they allowed a ton of pressures, but it was also Fields holding the ball. Whereas if you looked at their individual pass block win rates and all those next gen stats, individually they look good. I just don't think they're playing cohesively as a unit, which is a lot of people don't think about. You can look at how many pressures each guy allows, this and that, but you got to play as a unit, and it has a big difference. I will say, Rome Odunze getting 11 targets is awesome. I saw a stat. The only 3 wide receivers with 300 or more air yards are Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Rome Odunze, the 3 rooks. Isn't that a crazy stat?
Say that one more time.
The only 3 receivers that have 300 or more air yards. So that's like ball traveling in the air, not catch and run. So they're throwing the ball downfield. Are the top 3 rookies taken? Harrison, Neighbors, and O'Dunes.
Interesting. That's very interesting because usually there's like a burner that's kind of taken later on, but that
you'd think like Rashid Shaheed or something like that, but top in the entire league, Reagan. That's the entire league.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's one that I feel like a lot of people don't know. That's a good stat there, mister.
Hey, I'm on NFL Twitter, so whenever I'm on Twitter, I just pick up these stats and they stick them in my
you figured that one out yourself.
Yeah, I was charting all the fucking snaps from all of them, every wide receiver in the league. All right, Reagan, let's move on to the.
I'm getting blamed in the comments. Walmart goes, bro can't dance without looking like a serial killer. That's kind of Walmart. That's part of the punishment. I'm supposed to look like a freak doing it. I'm not supposed to be looking like I'm enjoying myself. And also, if you watch a lot of those weirdo TikTok dancers, they always got some funky faces on. But I'll take it.
That's your serial killer trait. Your dance moves, bro.
Yeah. Maybe I'll get into more of the acting thing and a little less of the podcasting thing. I mean, hire me. I'll be in your horror movie.
All right, let's move on to the Vikings just absolutely destroying the Texans 34-7. The game was never really close. Darnold 17 of 28 for 181, but 4 touchdowns, very efficient. Aaron Jones looks rejuvenated, ran for over 100 yards in this one. Jefferson, 81 and a touchdown. Aaron Jones added 46 through the air for a touchdown, almost 150 total. Jalen Naylor had another touchdown. Go Sparty. The Vikings offense is humming, and you got to think Sam Darnold's up there in MVP conversations right now. For the Texans, Stroud struggled, threw for 215, a touchdown, and 2 picks. It's a week after Purdy struggled. We just saw what Purdy did against the Rams, and he told Brian Flores that scheme is just awesome. Brian Flores is certainly, I know a lot of teams probably want to go the offensive
head coaching name.
Yeah, you usually want to go with an offensive-minded head coach, but the way Flores is scheming up this Vikings defense and the way they've looked against Houston now and San Francisco, I mean, it's legit, bro. It's legit.
Dude, very legit, dude. He's made some good quarterbacks look terrible. I mean, Stroud and Purdy have looked lost. It'll be really I think the true test will be not this week against Green Bay, especially if it's Malik Willis, but next week against the Jets. So with a veteran quarterback, it'll be in London, but a veteran quarterback like Rodgers. What are you able to do against him, a guy that's seen so many different things? So that's a matchup I'll be looking forward to see, is Flores' defense that complex, or is a veteran who's faced a lot just able to dissect it? Because if Stroud, Purdy, they've played a lot of football at this, or Stroud hasn't played a lot of football at this point. And Purdy, I mean, I think he's probably 30, 40 starts, or like 30-something starts at this point. But still, they haven't seen everything. I mean, where Rodgers has probably played like 300-400 games, probably even actually way more than that. But you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and offensively, just the wide receivers, again, Diggs, 10 for 94, Nico, 4 for 86, 12 targets for Diggs, 10 for Nico. Tank Dell cleared the third option, 5 for 62 on 6 targets. And I know that Tank and Diggs were kind of going around each other in redraft. I feel bad for you if you took Tank over Stephon.
Yeah, I mean, I was saying, man, Stephon's going to be involved. I actually went out and got him in a fantasy league last week, and he had a ton of targets. I mean, hey, you got that nice bonus for the 12-yard pass, too. I wasn't complaining with that. But, I mean, you love to see the targets. I mean, he ended up with, what did he end up with? 12 targets on 10 catches. I mean, you love to see that.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
Absolutely. And the running game was non-existent without Joe Mixon. Yeah. Cam Akers, I know, I mean, some people probably picked him up. And they're like, oh, Cam Akers
the touchdown kind of bailed you out. But if he didn't score the touchdown there, you were chalked.
Yeah, I mean, he had an 8-yard catch for a touchdown. Other than that, 9 carries for 21 yards. He still didn't even have 10 points. So,
no,
I mean,
I'm
not
just
ideal.
saying the touchdown saved you at that point from having like a 2-point game to at least you're, salvageable.
Yeah. Minnesota 3-0. Who would have thought? Texans 2-1.
Not us. Not us. I think I had them having 6 wins this season. So
yeah, not us, dude. We're getting flamed
so
on
far.
YouTube. Getting flamed on YouTube by Vikings fans.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so.
All right, the Eagles 15-12 win over the Saints. Both teams now 2-1. Jalen Hurts looked much better in this one from a yardage standpoint, threw for 311, but still another interception. He leads the league in turnovers since the start of last season. Not ideal for Philly, but damn, dude, hate to say it, Saquon Barkley looked really damn good again. He's the number 1 player in fantasy football right now. Had an offer on the table to trade him, and after he cribbed that one from 65, I pulled the offer, and I was like, I think I need to keep this guy because this Philly offense without A.J. Brown and then Devontae Smith leaving with the concussion, Saquon Barkley's going to be running that. And Dallas Goedert, dude, 10 for 170 yards with a long of 61. Whew! I mean, I guess when you lose Brown and Smith, you got to go to Goddard. And Goddard started in one league, and I was like, holy shit, 27 points. He looked legit. He looked fast. He looked athletic.
It's crazy. He didn't even score a touchdown, and he put up 27. I mean, if you told me a tight end's putting up those numbers, I'm like, what do you have, 2-3 touchdowns?
Absolutely.
I mean, 170 yards. If you took Dallas Goedert's over in receiving yards this year, that goes a long way for a guy whose line was probably set at like 600 or 700 yards on the year.
Oh, my God. Yeah, absolutely. And Devontae Smith was eating before he had to leave with a concussion, had 7 for 79 on 10 targets. Hopefully, Philadelphia can get A.J. Brown back. Jalen Hurts also lost a fumble too, Reagan. He's got to clean up the turnovers because if Philly doesn't turn the ball over and give other teams strong field position, this offense, when they get their guys back, you got to imagine they're going to average close to 30 a game.
Oh, yeah, dude. They move the ball easily. It's usually these drives end by a dumb turnover, whether it's Hurts or somebody fumbling. But, I mean, they seem to be able to move the ball, like, effortlessly. Like, a lot. They're not punting a lot. It's a lot more turnovers, it seems like. So, and the defense is playing great. Zach Bond seems to have really fixed that linebacker core. I mean, he's all over the place. And that was a revenge game, too.
Yeah.
But he's been all over the place so far. So
shit. If I would have known, I would have taken his over tackles.
Yeah, come on. That's on me.
Come
That's on
on.
me. I
Come
knew that coming in. I
on.
should
I
have
love
said something.
revenge games. God damn it.
Who doesn't like a good revenge game?
Yeah, and as we talked about earlier, Derek Carr back down to earth in this one, only threw for a $142, a touchdown and a pick. Kamara had 87 yards, but it was on 26 carries, so yards per carry, really not that good. It's under 4 yards per carry. Finally, though, there's a positive for the Saints losing the game. Chris Olave got more involved, 6 for 86 and a touchdown. We kind of thought it was going to be Olave's not breakout game because, I mean, he's shown us what he can do in this league, but
Yeah.
this year, his getting on track type of game.
Well, also another positive is you held one of the best offenses in the league to 15 points.
Yeah, that Saints
You
defense,
know what I mean?
when they're at
Their
home,
defense looks legit.
yeah, it's not necessarily a team I want to target in the betting market. Like props going against them. Now, granted, Barkley absolutely feasted, but at home, that Saints defense is pretty stout.
Yeah, even with them losing this game, I think this is a team that definitely will be pushing for the division in a wild card spot come December.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be Atlanta, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay just dueling it out towards the end of the season.
Hey, don't you count out the Panthers, buddy. Don't count out the Red Rifle just yet. I thought my 5.5 wins was dead.
All right, well, let's not act like the Raiders are a good team.
Dead. Yeah, I don't care, man. It's got a pulse. It's got a pulse.
It does got a pulse, Reagan. I'll give you.
That's all you can ask for. 5.5 has a pulse, baby.
The Steelers improved to 3-0, beating the Chargers, a battle of undefeateds. And, dude, I just can't say enough about the Steelers defense. It's just absolutely elite. And I think adding Patrick Queen, he was their leading tackler in this one, was just a huge addition to what was already a phenomenal defense. Justin Fields threw for 245, a touchdown and a pick, but he was very efficient, 25 of 32. Only had 6 rushing yards, but did score on the ground. Najee Harris, 18 for 70. It is clear he's the lead back here. Jaylen Warren only with 3 carries and 1 catch. The 1 catch was for -4 yards. Reagan, tell us to me, how does last year Arthur Smith has Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier, and they're splitting carries almost like 55-45%. Now he goes to Pittsburgh when Jaylen Warren has been more efficient the last 2 years than Najee, and now Warren's like getting cut out of the game plan.
Well, I know he has been dealing with a hamstring injury coming into the season, so that could be a little bit of easing him back in. But even Cordell Patterson seems to be having involvement over Warren, so that's very weird to me.
Yeah, and he had 3 catches for 15.
They were using him at the end of the game. I guess Cordell Patterson's their chew clock running back, not the huge running back in Najee Harris, who's 240. Let's just give it to Cordell Patterson, the wide receiver turned running back, to chew the clock and run between the tackles. But hey, he was getting first downs. I mean, it worked, but still, it's funny. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I wish Najee got this volume last year. Then my most rushing yards take probably would have happened.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly would have been in play. Receiving-wise, Calvin Austin had the 55-yard touchdown. Pickens, 5 for 57. Not too bad. Don't really love anyone else in that receiver room. For the Chargers, Herbert only went 12-18 for 125 and a touchdown. He was efficient until leaving with the ankle. Then Heineke had to come in, but didn't really have the opportunity to do much. I mean, J.K. Dobbins has taken over that backfield. He had 15 carries to Gus Edwards' 3. Now, it wasn't Dobbins' best game. It's a really stout defense, but if you've been holding Dobbins through the injuries, I know Zach has in our league, you got to be pretty happy with saving that bench spot.
Yeah, I'm curious, actually. I made a trade in the league. I did Kenneth Walker for J.K. Dobbins straight up, so I was on the Dobbins end.
Redraft.
Yeah, redraft. I'm curious your thoughts on that. I liked it a lot just because Walker's injury concern, and he's just a guy that hasn't been able to stay healthy. Well, obviously Dobbins has injury concerns as well, but he's just looked so good so far. And I was like, you know what? Like, ADP doesn't matter anymore. I'm going to go for the guy that's been getting the bulk and just looks super productive so far.
Yeah, I don't love it just because, I mean, Dobbins got to prove he can stay healthy over a period of time, which he hasn't been able to do. But I get it. Walker does have the oblique. I think maybe you jumped the gun a little bit, but I don't know, because now it looks like they're out without their top 2 tackles and Justin Herbert next week. So next week just looks like an absolute dud for that entire offense.
Yeah. Well, that's the only downside. It's just all the injuries now, and I made this trade before all those injuries.
I know, and then Walker could be back, maybe not this week, but the week after. But I don't know. In practice, it looked like Walker. I saw a video of him, and he was just jogging, and he was like kind of wincing a little bit and grabbing his side, and it's not like he was cutting or taking any hits. So Walker might be out for a couple weeks. But he wasn't placed on IR, so I'm not sure what's going on there. But before we wrap up this game, Quentin Johnson scored another touchdown. That's cool. I
Yeah,
have him in
man,
2
he looks
leagues.
good. He looks
Yeah,
good.
I mean, hey, 3 touchdowns in 3 games. Who would have thought that for Quentin Johnson?
Not me. Not me. Not many people. Everyone kind of wrote him off, dude. So it's good to see.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to a tough one for me. Getting knocked out in Survivor Pool. And I already used my buyback for this entry, so that one's toast. The Broncos 26-7 over the Bucks. I don't know what the hell happened here. Bo Nix threw for 216, added 47 on the ground with a rushing touchdown. Tyler Batty 9 for 70. Javonte 5 for 12. Jaleel McLaughlin 5 for 7. What does that tell you? That backfield breakdown. I know as a fact the most inefficient running backs this year. Javonte's on that list. Also on the other side, Rashad White is on that list. Also, Zamir White is on that list. Guys that were kind of in that middle territory when you're like, oh shit, I forgot to draft a running back, and they're just there and you take them. Like the dead zone where it's like the efficiency metrics weren't there, but there wasn't a lot of competition for touches. Well, now there is, because Tyler Batty had the best game. Yeah, he had a 43-yard run, which skews his rushing numbers, but Javonte's been bad, and Jaleel McLaughlin's getting faded out a little bit here. And I know you were high on him.
Yeah, dude, that killed me. And I had a bet that would have hit. It was 4 legs. It was 5 to win 1,500.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Bo Nix, 225 passing yards. He was 9 short. Should have hit. He was like,
oh, dude.
And then the other legs that hit was Will Levis, 250 plus at plus 425. Caleb Williams, 250 plus passing yards at plus 285. Andy Dalton, 250 plus at plus 320, and then Bo Nix at 225 plus at plus 275.
Dude, you were 9 yards short of fucking turning 5 into 1.5. See,
Yeah.
I got screwed last night because I had a parlay, and it was Jamar 100, Jamar touchdown. Oh my God, he ain't lying, folks. That is real. That is a tough loss.
I ain't lying.
I had Burrow 2 touchdowns, and I had Jaden Daniels 40 rushing yards. Guess what happened? Jaden Daniels took a knee to end the game and finished with 39 rushing yards. So that was a heartbreaker for me, but I feel way worse for you, brother.
Yeah.
That parlay's a lot cooler. Receiving wise, Sutton led the charge, 7 for 68. No surprise there. Other than that, pretty spread around. For the Bucks, Baker struggled. Buck 63, a touchdown and a pick. I'll say this, though. Bucky Irving, they said he's earned the opportunity for more touches. 9 for 70. While Rashad White had 6 for 17. Rashad White, yards per carry wise, has been one of the worst running backs in the league this year. And Bucky Irving's been one of the most explosive running backs.
He looks good, Bucky. I think he's going to be losing that job quickly.
I think Bucky might start next week, dude. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah,
I think he might start.
Yeah, White's losing his job. No, dude, he looks good. And all the coach speak coming out. I mean, I had White and Bucky, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even want any of this. So I packaged them together today, chopped them off. I was like, I can't deal with this uncertainty. But yeah, that's why we were kind of down on White coming into this year. And any of you that took Irving late, you might get rewarded, especially in best ball if it was one of the guys you took a shot on late, because he looks good.
Yeah, I got him in 2 dynasty leagues. Pretty happy about that. And shout out Chris Godwin. Scored a touchdown here. Evans, 2 for 17. Got shut down by Pat Surtain, but that's why I targeted Godwin. Shout out. You were one of the only 2 to hit in Big Dogs parlay this week. I'm sorry I let you guys down. Only hit 2 out of 4. Disappointed in myself. Chris Godwin and Jamar Chase.
Chris Godwin was not in your parlay. What are you talking about?
Oh, I'm sorry. He was in my other parlay.
I was
no, because I added on to Big Dog's parlay and added a couple more to get a little frisky.
It was Chase and Montgomery that hit. And then
yes, you're right. I made it an 8-legger, and we were looking real good in the early slate because I hit 3 out of the 4. But yeah,
I was like, what? I was like, I would have taken Godwin over Devontae Adams if I'd known that.
I know. Fuck Devontae Adams.
Lost me money, jerk off.
Fuck the Raiders.
Dead to me.
Bucks dropped to 2-1. Hey, it's the NFL. Any given week, Bucks. A lot of people took them. I had them in Survivor. Got screwed. But let's talk about that Panthers Raiders game, Reagan. Where
get over to the 4 o'clock window.
Devontae Adams let me down, but Andy Dalton did not let you down. He threw for 319 and 3 touchdowns. Chuba Hubbard also did not let you down, running for a buck.
No, he looked good.
Also, 55 receiving yards. He had 169 total yards and a touchdown. And Deontay Johnson had 8 for 122 and a touchdown.
Yeah, dude. And the thing with Chuba is, I remember last year you were highlighting how inefficient he had been early on in his career, but he's had a nice resurgence. He's had a very nice resurgence where early on in his career, he came out of Oak State, had his opportunity to be the starter here, just very inefficient. But now he's kind of stepping into the role. He's definitely not a guy I'm trying to acquire because I think Jonathan Brooks will be involved and it'll be more of a timeshare when he gets there. But he's a must play as of now, especially with Jonathan Brooks out. When he comes back, it'll be interesting. But if Hubbard's to go off again next week, you might want to sell high on him with Jonathan Brooks' return looming.
Absolutely. And for the Raiders, Minshew 18 to 28 for 214, a touchdown, a pick. Then O'Connell came in, threw for 82 and a touchdown. I know that Antonio Pierce said he's not ruling out a quarterback switch. I don't know. Do you see that happening? I feel like it's a little premature. It's a little
I would
premature.
say that's very premature, especially when Minshew was a big reason why he beat the Ravens last week. I mean, yeah, he didn't look great, but I don't know if the offense exactly was your issue this week. I mean, your defense allowing Hubbard to go for 114 and Dalton going for over 300 yards, but also like the Panthers have been so beatable on the ground, and you only run the ball 16 times. They kind of gave up on the run way too early to me. So I think there's bigger issues in the quarterback here. I think the play calling is a bigger factor here.
Yeah, Zamir White, 10 for 34. Just yuck, dude. I feel bad for people that took him. I took him in a couple best balls because I was desperate for running back, and I knew I was going to regret it. Of course I do.
I was super high on White. I'm regretting it.
Yep.
I fell for that thirst trap of him looking all jacked up and like, oh, this guy's about to go off.
Yeah,
wow.
They want to run the ball. They want to run the ball.
Yeah, apparently they don't. Apparently they don't. Even when they go against a bad run defense, they don't.
No, they don't. And even, I mean, to make matters worse, Alexander Madison only had 3 carries for 7 yards, but he scored the touchdown, so that's just great. Receiving wise, and just like we all thought, Trey Tucker was going to lead the team with 96 yards and a touchdown, but
why not, right?
I mean, Jacoby Myers, 7 for 62 and a touchdown. Devontae just really screwed us. 4 for 40. Devontae might be banned from Big Dog's touchdown scorer parlay for quite a while.
Fair.
All right, Dolphins, Seahawks. Under Mike Macdonald, the Seahawks improved to 3-0 with a 24-3 win here. Geno threw for 289, a touchdown, 2 picks. Not great, but Charbonnet had a day. 18 for 91 and 2 touchdowns. DK caught the 71-yard touchdown. That's what he does. But it was really Seattle's defense suffocating Skylar Thompson and knocking him out of the game, and then Tim Boyle having to come in. Achane couldn't get going, only had 11 for 30. Tyreek 3 for 40. I mean, without Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle just aren't even close to what they could be, and it's just really frustrating for fantasy holders.
No, dude. I mean, it's a big issue without Tua. It's a big issue, and that's why I said I think you can bench Waddle. Achane's a must start. I mean, you can never bench Hill. You got to.
No, you can't. You can't.
But
you got to play him. A couple duds in a row, but you can't.
At this point, Waddle, I would bench. I would not start him next week until he proves, or whoever the quarterback is proves that he can have 2 good wide receivers. I mean, Hill, you drafted him to start him, but Waddle, I would say, and I don't even know if you can trade him because you'd be trading him at his absolute floor, and we don't know how long Tua's out for, so you don't want to jump the gun, but I definitely would not start Waddle next week.
Yeah, I don't know, dude, because I saw Waddle get thrown up on a trade block today, and it's like, ever since Tyreek Hill entered the picture, like Waddle was a top 15 receiver his first 2 years, but then Tyreek came in, and I know he missed a couple games last year, but just hasn't been even close to the player that he was fantasy-wise before, but he still gets drafted like that, because he does have that game-changing speed, and he has the talent, and it is a great offense, but I don't know, dude. I'm kind of off on Jalen Waddle. I think he's valued way too highly based on what we've seen the past year plus.
Yeah, so far it does seem like he's getting a little bit valued high. I mean, there's a lot of early production, but with Tyreek Hill, I mean, he's a back end wide receiver too, with a healthy Tua as well.
I agree.
The Dolphins
all right,
have big issues, and this is a must win on Monday night. I hate to say it, but you got to win a couple games or at least stay afloat with Tua out. Otherwise, the season's going to slip away really quick for Miami.
I agree. Let's move on to Baltimore. Beating up on Dallas initially, but Cowboys made it a game at the end, 28-25 total, but Dallas scores 19 unanswered in the fourth quarter to make it close. And Lamar was not happy about that. He thought the team should have been more aggressive, kept their foot on the gas pedal. He threw for $182 and a touchdown. Only had to throw the ball 15 times, which was crazy because
they were running the ball down their throat.
Hey, we didn't sign Derrick Henry to give him the ball 25 times a game. Okay, 30 times a game. Okay, well, how's 26? 25 carries.
That's what I said, and that's what I've been saying.
And he had a reception for 23. Yeah.
It's coach speak. When that quote came out, I said, who cares? I was telling people to go trade for him. I knew he's going to be good and heavily involved. It's coach speak. Coaches say it all the time. And what did you do? The guy, 26 touches might as well be 30. Like, yeah, I'll sign up for that volume any day of the week. So Henry is going to be good. He's going to continue to get better. And I mean, it might be a rough matchup this week against the Bills, but I don't care. He's a must start every week.
Yeah, and we mentioned that he's gonna have the game scripts, given how good Baltimore is as a team, where he's gonna get over 20 carries several times this year. And I mean, for fantasy managers, that's awesome. But what's not awesome is if you have Mark Andrews like I do, basically being used as a blocker. The dude had one target. I don't know what's going on here, but
Yeah, and he only played like 33% of snaps or some weird stuff.
I know.
I don't know.
Likely had
I'd
one
be
for
pissed if
four.
I drafted him in fantasy.
Yeah, I have
Like,
him in one dynasty league, but I also have Isaiah Likely, and it's every week like, who do I start? Like this week, I was screwed no matter what. But they didn't really need to throw the ball here. I mean, Zay Flowers only had 3 for 20 yards. The leading receiver was Aguilar on one catch for 56. So sometimes you're gonna get that with Baltimore, where they can just run the ball down your throat with Henry and Lamar, and that's all they need to do. I mean, Lamar had 87 rushing yards and a touchdown here as well. Looked really good. For the Cowboys, Prescott did his thing, 379 and 2 touchdowns in the comeback effort. Ferguson, 6 for 95. Good to see him back. Ceedee only had 4 for 67. Really spread the ball around. The running game is still non-existent. I don't know. This Dallas team just doesn't seem as scary as they have been in years past.
Yeah, I mean, the defense is a big issue. I mean, the offense looked good to me still. Even, I mean, obviously early struggles, but I don't know. Dak's gonna get his every week. I mean, Brandon Aubrey is just like a great fantasy player this year.
Dude, he'd be tight end 1 right now and be wide receiver 4. I saw that. I was like, that is insane.
I know. I'm happy I drafted him. I mean, dude, I think at this point he is the best kicker in football.
I do. Yeah, I mean, Justin Tucker's struggling right now.
I mean, yeah, but like, I mean, he fucking hit a 65-yarder. Like, he's just good, bro.
He is. He's absolutely legit. All right, Reagan. I don't know what the hell you're doing, but let's move on to the Niners and Rams.
Sorry, plugging in my laptop so we can keep this production of Around the Felt going.
Niners Rams. Great fourth quarter comeback from the Rams here to improve to 1-2.
Hell of a
0-3 start.
comeback.
Season would have seemed like a wash with the injuries they have. They go to 0-3, but able to get the win. Stafford threw for 221 and a touchdown. Kyron Williams, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground, added one through the air as well. So a 3-touchdown game for Kyron Williams, which was awesome. I didn't think he could do it against his Niners defense, but he absolutely did. And that was just awesome for the Rams and awesome for fantasy holders. I got him in a couple leagues, and I was never worried about him returning punts. This is why. And no one else is really that involved. Ronnie Rivers had 2 for 9 yards. I mean, come on. Corum's not even playing.
Yeah. No, dude, I mean, there's obviously big issues, massive issues here with this team, but they were able to get it done. Injuries is probably going to plague this season for them. They need to get everyone healthy. But at the end of the day, Sean McVay showed why he is one of the best coaches in the league. He schemed up a good game plan, kept them relevant, and Matt Stafford does what a veteran does and kept his team in the game. And good. And for those of you that were worried about Kyron, don't worry. I mean, he looks great. Like, I know you already said it. Like, everyone was like, oh, worried about Blake Corum. Yeah, don't worry. He's getting all the volume, and he's going to have a big year. Big year, especially without Kupp and Nakua. They're just going to have to lean on him even more.
Absolutely. Just hope he doesn't get hurt because he's not the biggest fella out there. The Niners, though, they got some problems. And I'll tell you what, Brock Purdy's not one of them. Threw for 292 and 3 touchdowns here. Jawan Jennings had 11 for $175 and 3 touchdowns.
What the hell, bro?
What the hell is that? Why everyone was thinking that's the Brandon Ayuk game. Everyone's got Brandon Ayuk in their parlays and scoring touchdowns. No, Ayuk had 5 for 48. What is going on with Ayuk? He was showing his frustration at the end of the game. But what is going on? Is it just rust because he didn't play the entire training camp?
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I mean, it's hilarious to look at it though. Like, you coming in there a heavy favorite, and that's back-to-back weeks of being a heavy favorite where everyone just thinks they're going to be fine. But there's issues, especially defensively too. Like, you wouldn't expect a team that has that many injuries at the wide receiver core and on the offensive line to be able to just not dominate. So I don't know, man. The Niners need to figure it out. But hey, you got to get right game against the Patriots. So as long as you handle business there, which you should be fine. But if you don't, panic time in San Francisco.
Yeah, they're still so talented. I think they're still a lock to make the playoffs. But with the way that Seattle started off to a 3-0 start, Arizona doesn't look like the doormat of the division anymore. So I mean, it's definitely going to be more competitive. And Jordan Mason, I don't hate the pick here that I had for my parlay. He had 19 for 77. They had opportunities. He had runs inside the 10. I just didn't expect Jawan Jennings' legacy game 3 touchdowns. Sometimes you get burnt. I don't hate that one as much as Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams was a bad pick. This one, I still don't think was a bad pick, even though it didn't hit. But I
Yeah.
digress.
Oh yeah. I mean, you don't bang on Jawan Jennings getting all the touchdowns. Hey, Jawan, maybe save one for our guy Mason next time.
I should have Juwan in the parlay. Who would have thunk that? All right, let's move on to the Lions taking care of business on the road at Arizona. They improved to 2-1. Arizona 1-2, a 20-13 game. Jared Goff 199, 2 touchdowns, interception. This was not the shootout we were anticipating here, Reagan. It was. I was right on the call that they were going to maul him on the ground. Montgomery had 105 and a touchdown. Gibbs had 83. Gibbs did also scored through the air. He had a 20-yard touchdown. So the running backs got the job done. Damn, I was way off on Jameson Williams. Only 1 catch for 9 yards. That was pretty frustrating, but at least the Lions took care of business. They are my Super Bowl pick. So,
yeah. Well, I don't know, man. This game kind of pissed me off because I was expecting so many points here, and then it just kind of deflated out in the second half. I mean, I know Jameson was a guy you were super excited about what he could do, but even Goff, both offenses kind of stalled out, and it was just became a defensive battle. I
3
feel like we
points
were almost.
scored in the second half. 3.
I feel like we were robbed of like some big fantasy games here. Like I was fully expecting this one.
Dude,
to
we
go
had
over.
30 points in the first half. We had 3 in the second. That's just brutal.
Robbed. I feel robbed. I mean, it's good for the Lions that they got it done. But I think the Cardinals are going to be a team that we've seen them compete every week so far. I mean, they killed the Rams, but they hung with the Bills and the Lions. So they're a team that could be a playoff team come down the stretch. I mean, they're obviously a hard out, and Jonathan Gannon has those guys playing good, but the defense looks good. They're improving. I mean, they looked great against the Rams, and they looked really good against the Lions. I mean, they made huge adjustments in the second half to keep them in the game. Their just offense couldn't step up. But Jonathan Gannon's a legit coach.
Yeah, he certainly is. Kyler Murray, 21 for 34 here, 207, touchdown, a pick. Marv added another touchdown, 5 for 64. I'm telling you right now, the Cardinals got the Commanders next week. Marvin Harrison will be in Big Dogs parlay, 100%. I think I'm just going to target the number 1 wide receiver going against the Commanders every week. I think it's free money.
Yeah. I mean,
and unfortunately, in this one too, Laporta left with an ankle, but he should be okay. But also McBride, concussion protocol, not ideal because I have both of them in one league, my work league, and I start both of them. Wow. One's a flex, and now I got to go to the waiver wire and add a third tight end. Not what I want to be doing week 4.
Tight end tight end you, baby. But
Not
yeah, dude, that sucks. Both tight ends. I mean, McBride obviously had a big week 2, but leaving with the injury sucks. And then Laporta, I mean, he already had struggling to put up them things, came to the year with the injury, and now to just get re-injured. It sucks. I mean, the tight end landscape's been terrible, and all those big dogs, none of them are returning on value. I mean, out of the top 4 guys, only McBride's had one good week. I mean, Andrews hasn't done anything for you. Kelsey hasn't done anything for you. Laporta hasn't done anything for you.
No,
so if you opted into one of those wait and get a tight end later strategies, you're happy because you could have gotten a guy like Tyler Conklin or a guy like Jawan Johnson in week 1, or there's a couple or Dallas Goedert.
Dude, it's just a really difficult.
It's
just a really difficult start for tight ends in general because even if you're streaming, like none of those options have been consistent. It's like one guy goes off a week and then there's a dud the next week. So, you got to you're almost guessing. All right, Sunday Night Football, Reagan, 22-17, the Chiefs 3-0. And to be honest with you, Chiefs at 3-0, Mahomes hasn't even looked like Mahomes yet. Only threw for 217 and 2 touchdowns, threw a pick, but they're still finding ways to win. Carson Steele, 17 for 72 here for the undrafted rookie. Yeah, clearly leading that backfield in touches.
Mm-hmm.
Pirine had 6. Yep.
I just want to say real quick, Kareem Hunt did just get elevated today. So, I mean, Steele looks like the one to have, but let's wait and see after this week to fully gauge that backfield.
I wouldn't start any Chiefs running backs next week.
No, I think you can start Steele. I mean, he was clearly,
you don't know though. I mean, it's 17
for
72, but I don't know.
You can flex him, but
I get 1 catch for 2 yards. There's just no PPR upside, it seems like, and you're kind of he might lose carries to Kareem Hunt, which I think he will next week.
Yeah,
at least a couple.
We've seen play well in that system before, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah, receiving wise, this is just Rashee Rice and the boys, and yeah, Travis Kelce's one of the boys right now. He only had 4 for 30, but Rashee 12 for 110, a touchdown on 14 targets. I mean, people are starting to have that conversation of Rashee Rice being up there fantasy-wise, where, like, he could almost be a first-round pick next year if he keeps this up, being Mahomes' number 1 option.
Yeah, because I remember Jared asked, or Crampton asked earlier last week. It was like, what to do with Rashi Rice? Like, should I trade him? And me and Garrett were like, no, dude. Like, I feel like he's genuinely will end the year as a top 12 receiver. He might even be pushing top 5 the way it's going so far. I mean, he's Mahomes' favorite target in one of the highest powered offenses in the league. So if I have Rice, I am not selling him. I mean, unless somebody's offering you like a crazy package. But right now, it seems like he's going to end as top 10 fantasy wide receiver and definitely return on value.
Yeah, and if you have him in Dynasty, you bite the bullet and suspension next year because he's just too valuable to trade.
Yeah.
And it sucks because in our league, I know Glenn traded him to Evan for DeAndre Swift in 2 seconds. And DeAndre Swift is also on that list of one of the worst running backs in the league so far this year, just very inefficient. Nah,
Yeah, I don't even know
not
if that
looking good.
sucks. It's just like, dude, just don't be an idiot. Like, listen to the podcast.
Yeah, just listen to the pod and maybe you won't
Like-
do that.
Like,
But
Glenn,
for-
stop, man. Just listen. Just listen, dude.
But
You won't
for
even hear
Atlanta,
this. I don't know why I'm even.
but for Atlanta, I mean, Bijan got kind of bottled, 16 for 31 here. Did have a touchdown, but not ideal. Drake London 6 for 67, a touchdown. Kyle Pitts 2 for 59, along of 50. Darnell Mooney 8 for 66. Not the best day for the Falcons offense, but Chiefs do have a good defense. Falcons dropped to 1-2. Not ideal. Not ideal.
Not ideal, but they still, they were hanging around. I mean, I definitely have a lot of confidence in them. I mean, the past 2 weeks they've hung with two of the best teams. I mean, obviously they got the win against the Eagles, but they definitely look way better than they did week 1 against the Steelers. Drake London looks legit, so it's good to see that Bijan and London continue to be involved. You'd like to see Pitt's involvement continue to go up, and Mooney, he's a guy you might want to try to go out and get. I mean, he's honestly been Kirk Cousins' like debatable number 1 target so far, even over London.
Yeah, he's been really solid. And for the Chiefs, it looks like they're going to run away with this division yet again.
Yeah, shocker.
Shocker. All right, let's move on. Monday Night Football, 2 games to recap. We're going to spend a lot of time on Bills Jaguars, a 47-10 thrumping. Bills 3-0, Jags 0-3. Josh Allen, Superman, threw for 263 and 4 touchdowns. Also added 44 on the ground. James Cook scored a touchdown, cashing Drock's locks, 11 for 39.
Yes, sir.
And what Josh
First of
Allen
many.
does, first of many. What Josh Allen does, doesn't matter who's that receiver. Shakir scoring, Kincaid scoring, Ty Johnson scoring, Keon Coleman scoring. James Cook dropped a touchdown too. A receiving touchdown would have been like 40 yards. But I mean, they were humming on all cylinders. And can we just sit here and have a conversation about Trevor Lawrence real quick? 178 touchdown and a pick. I see floating around a lot today comparing Trevor Lawrence's career stats to Daniel Jones. And everyone's like, Trevor Lawrence is Daniel Jones with long blonde hair. He is not that generational guy we thought. And I don't know what's going on with him, but he's missing guys. That overthrow he had when DeMar Hamlin had the pick was awful. He doesn't look comfortable. And now the Jags have lost 8 straight Trevor Lawrence starts. That was
the big thing that stuck out to me. And everyone's like, well, it's not just a quarterback. It's like, okay, but I mean, a lot of these starts, I mean, they have just no rhythm on offense. I mean, it was good to see Christian Kirk get involved more. A lot of people were worried about him for fantasy, so it's good to see that involvement. And he's a guy I actually went out and traded for today because I'm buying into it. But
how many trades you make today, dude? What the fuck?
A lot.
Is that what you did all day? You just making trades?
Yeah, man. I mean, work is for stupid people. Actually, that is my work. Like the paychecks is my side hustle. Fantasy football is my full-time job. I'm dedicated to the grind. Fantasy is reality, baby. But yeah, I mean, Trevor Lawrence, it's clearly an issue here. And I mean, if this keeps going like this, like they may end up like, I don't know. It's a tough contract to get out of, and I'm sure somebody would trade for him. But I mean, I don't know. I think the more likely situation is Doug Peterson gets fired. They bring in a whole new system next year and see if they can fix it. But dude, I mean, if I'm a Jaguars fan, I'm pissed.
100%. And this Jaguars secondary, I think we have to have that conversation too, is one of the worst in the league. Especially, I believe Tyson Campbell was out for this one. He was their top corner. And I think, betting-wise, target Jacksonville secondary, you might have yourself a good day.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's wrap it up. The final game of the slate. Knocking you out of Survivor, Reagan. But you have your buybacks. You're alive. The Commanders 38 to the Bengals 33. Commanders on the road. Barn burner. Now 2-1. And the Bengals 0-3. Who had that in their bingo card? Guarantee nobody. Jaden Daniels looks like a legitimate franchise quarterback. 21 of 23. That's disgusting. 254, 2 touchdowns. Added 39 rushing yards. Yes, 39, not 40. I lost my bet by 1 yard. It's okay. I'm not worried about it. I'm not thinking about it. I'm over it. Added a rushing touchdown on the ground. Eckler scored. Brian Robinson scored. Not first, though. He scored the first Commanders touchdown, not of the game. So the wheel did not hit, but we were very close. Have faith. The wheel's going to hit. And Terry McLaurin, 4 for 100 and a touchdown. Just a great all-around performance for the Commanders. Not even punting. And for the Bengals.
Yeah, did you see that? Tress Way hasn't even punted since week 1, and he hasn't been injured.
Dude's getting paid to do nothing.
2 weeks in a row where he hasn't had to punt the ball.
Just getting paid to do absolutely nothing. Burrow threw for 324, 3 touchdowns. Jamar Chase had 2 of those, also added 118 yards. At least I was right on that one. Jamar Chase going to go for 102 touchdowns. So that was nice. T. Higgins being back out there, although not the biggest game, 3 for 39, still a positive sign for Bengals fans. But, dude, I don't know. Something's wrong with these Cincinnati Bengals. I know they always get off to slow starts and people hit the panic button, so you don't want to write them off yet, but something's got to give, dude. You got to start winning some fucking games.
Yeah. I mean, if they lose to the Panthers this week, it's over. It's over this year. I mean, there's no coming back from that. I mean, they're not making the playoffs if they start at 0-4. It's already going to be an uphill battle, especially with Pittsburgh starting out 3-0. I mean, the division's slipping away quickly. And Baltimore obviously righted the ship this week, getting a huge win against a good team versus Bengals, who lost to a bad team. So I don't know. There's big issues in Cincinnati. I mean, the defense looks terrible. I mean, the offense looked better, obviously, but a lot of it's like they were trailing all game, and Washington was kind of just letting them throw it down the field, being like, "You're not going to beat us deep," and a lot of dink and dunks and stuff. And then after Chase beat them deep to start the game, but I don't know, big issues there in Washington, man. I'm already eating crow early. I was down on them coming into the year. I thought they'd be like 5 or 6 wins, but they look legit. Daniels looks way ahead of schedule. If I'm an old Commanders fan, I'm ecstatic for him right now.
Oh, trust me. I know Walmart's ecstatic. He's been blowing up the group chat, and he's like, Washington's biggest hitter is kind of quiet today, talking about me. I'm like, bro, I was saying last night in the chat, that throw from Jaden Daniels was disgusting. And I said, there's something about them LSU boys, him and Malik Neighbors, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. I mean, LSU just pumps talent to the NFL, legitimate talent. And I think it's cool that Neighbors and Daniels are, going back and forth. They're talking every week. Neighbors said today, he's like, yeah, I thought I had rookie of the week in the bag. And then I told Jaden, I was rooting for him, but not to go too crazy. And he did just that. So I'm losing this week. Which, Jaden Daniels is winning that award, dude. Yeah. Hell of a game,
to go into Cincinnati and do what he did. Because what he ended up with, 3 touchdowns, but just like the Bengals. I mean, I don't know. That was crazy. But Rookie of the Year will be interesting because I'm still not counting out Caleb, and obviously Marv's still a stud too, but it's looking like a 4-man race. But you never know if Adunze continues to get involved too.
I know yesterday that Neighbors became the favorite, but I'd imagine today Daniels probably
he was. I saw it was Daniels and Neighbors were both at plus 250. Harrison was plus 350, and I think Caleb was like plus 500. But now Daniels is like plus 150 now. And the biggest thing is it's just going to be. I think it's going to end up being like a Puka Stroud thing where, it's just always going to go to the quarterback over the wide receiver, and that's the toughest thing. But if you have that Neighbors ticket, it's already returning on value.
I know Drox got that. Drox got 100 to win 1.7 on that.
But don't count out my boy Braylon Allen yet. Don't count him out.
Oh, come on, dude. Braylon Allen's not going to get it over those guys. He looks really good, but he's not getting over those guys.
No, I know he won't. He won't get the volume, but he looks legit.
All right, guys, that wraps up the Week 3 recap. If you're still listening, please make sure to like and subscribe on all platforms. We appreciate you. We'll be back tomorrow for the Week 4 predictions.
Peace.